for ageless aeon. And a point came where the intensity of this koinonia became unbearable for God, and God wanted to share, because he is a creature, a being of love. The intensity that existed between this triune being became so intense, and the Father communicated with the Logos, and the Logos to the Spirit, and it exploded out of their bowels and said, let us make man. So man was a project of deity. Man was the betting of the immortal fellowship that existed between the community of the divine. It was propelled by the intensity of koinonia. Deity existed in themselves, and a point came where that energy that existed between them became intense. When God said, let us make man, it was an exclamation that was bettered out of koinonia. The energy of that intercourse was what propelled the creation of you and I. And the reason for this creation is so that we can participate in this communion that was alien to mortals. This operation that existed and predated creation, God wanted to bring us to enjoy and to participate of that reality. So John came and he said, that which was from the beginning, which we have seen and we have heard, and our hands have handled of the word of life. He said, that is what we invite you into. We are calling you into fellowship. There was something that existed before time began. Man is not a creature of time. Man is a creature of eternity, because he came from the womb of deity, and he can only live from there. He says, so truly our fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Come into communion. This is what the weight of glory is about. The ability of man to live from the realm of God to the degree that his life becomes an effulgence of the divine. We are not preachers. We are not apostles and prophets. We are witnesses of God. The channel of bringing God to humanity is what was fabricated into offices and operations. The idea was not to have an apostle and a prophet. The idea was for God to visibly dominate this realm. The glory of God filling the earth as the waters cover the sea. This is what life is about. The immortals do not know your title. As far as they are concerned, they are outlets through which God can invade a system. The effulgence of God, that dimension of koinonia that exploded from the womb of deity, conducted through human vessels into a visible realm, is what life is about. And this is what informs the carriage of glory. Help me, Lord. Help me. You are mighty on your throne. You reign. You reign. You reign. You reign. Kadosh. You are mighty on your throne. The value of a man's life is not in duration. Life was never designed to be calculated in duration. Life was designed to be calculated in the essence of God that is witnessed to in time. You can celebrate birthdays until you are 100. It's a waste. until your life becomes a channel through which God flows into your context. Life is not duration based. Life is God expressed through human vessels. The idea of life is not material possession. You can own 1 billion. You can have cars and institutions. But if God is not there, it is Babel. And when it becomes a tower, God himself will destroy it. Everything we have is a tool for advancing divinity. The idea was the ability of man to come into koinonia and express God afterwards. So when we look at men, what we should trace is the dimension of God that they carry. Man has no identity in Zion except as he becomes an expression of a dimension of deity. So if you study Hebrews chapter 11, he didn't remember what they had in time. Noah created an ark that was to save the whole world. It was not captured in the Chronicles of Zion. When the records of Noah's life were written, he said when God spake, Noah moved with reverence. So the fear of God in the life of Noah was the channel for communicating God. That was the only thing that crossed into eternity. The gifts of the Spirit that Noah had were not written in eternity. It is not needed there. Because eternity is a realm of perpetual continuum. You don't need word of knowledge. Noah built an ark for 100 years. And everything Noah built, he saw it in the Spirit. But that was not written. The only thing that was captured was the fear of God. Because that fear of God was what captured the dimension of God that Noah represented in time. The Bible said in Genesis 24 from verse 1 that Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed him in all things. That is mortal record. When you enter into the immortal realm, they didn't capture the silver and gold that Abraham had. It was his faith that resonated in Zion. It was his faith. That was the only thing that resonated in Zion. Among men, mundane things can be numbered, not among spirits. You know, you can be fair, and then it's priority. That is in time. When we enter Zion, we'll be clothed with light. So you will not know who was black or who was fair. So if you lived your life about your skin, you wasted. Because when you appear in Zion, they will check you. What is the signature of God that you captured in time? Moses was a prince in Egypt. He was one of the candidates that could become a pharaoh. But when Moses entered Zion, they didn't remember that he was in Egypt. The only thing that was captured was that he saw him that was invincible. And when he was come of age, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than the pledges of Egypt, which is for a season, because he saw him that was invincible. So the life of Moses was a definition of faithfulness and perpetual obedience. So when we say glory, we are actually trying to troubleshoot the meaning of life. He said, for all have sinned and falling short of the glory of God. That means the glory of God is what defines life. The signature of life is the glory of God that human vessel can capture. The story of life is the possibility through grace for mortality to host immortality. The story of life is the possibility through the wisdom of God for mortals to be able to host deity, and they can communicate him in this realm. hey. Yeah. Hallelujah. Yeah. The Christianity that was given to us is a Christianity of breakthrough. So we judge our lives and value system by material possession. Material possession became important because we fell. When Adam was in Eden, material things were not his asset. They were tools. I will show you the 8 articles of glory, so you will know what to pursue in time. Because you are actually in time, but you are a creature of eternity. Everything you have in time is an avenue and a tool given to you to advance your nativity, which is Zion. If you don't know it, material things will become your God, and you'll be lost in this realm. It's like a man flying from Nigeria to Italy, and then they stop in Spain, and then you now come down in Spain, you now build a house, and then you start having pleasure in Spain. You forgot where you were going. You are a story that God is telling from heaven. You are actually passing from eternity past into eternity future. This is transit. You know, spirits don't know breakthrough. Because if a spirit gives you a jet, the reason is because it wants to fast track your movement so that you can meet up with the assignment that is in your hand. Because where they live, they don't need planes to move. They travel by whirlwind. If a spirit gives you a job, it's not a breakthrough. It's a platform for you to give expression to kingdom. So he needs an ambassador, and you are the only one, so he sent you there. You are actually running an errand. But if we judge life from earth, our definitions and value system will be perverted. So when you have money, you begin to think of what you spend it on. Meanwhile, there was a project in heaven that you were made the project manager that made you have that money. But you may spend that money and never execute that project. So when you appear in Zion, they now begin to check the lexicon of your destiny. And they tell you this and this and this was what you should do. That's why you had this 10 million. But when they check from Zion, 10 million became gold watch and diamond ring and a trip to Bahama Island. So you are a creature of time. You would have lived for 70 years, but when you get to heaven, they will say, you didn't appear in the radar. You know, when God came to the garden and he was looking for Adam, he said, Adam, where art thou? God is omniscient. He knows all things. What was happening is that Adam had dislodged from the rank where he stood in Zion. He was the watcher over the earth. So when God came to his office, he was not there. He was in the garden, but he had fallen. Among the princes of heaven in the galaxies of God, Adam was no longer standing as a prince. So it was not about garden. It was about where are you standing in the spirit. Because the guy had fallen. Meanwhile, he was still in Eden. Maybe when God came, he was eating an apple. He didn't know that the goal was not to stay with apples. He was there as a watcher because he said, dress the garden and keep it. The word dress is the word for priesthood. That means through priesthood legislation, make Eden earth, heaven on earth. The word keep is the word for kingdom. It means advance everything in Eden to dominate the earth. So when I come, the whole earth will become Eden, and Eden is heaven. But Adam was pursuing apples. They say, Kai, this fruit is good for food. It's a creature of time. You know, when we want to discuss the subject of glory, the foundation is robust. Because people, most times we don't know why we're on earth. Most times we don't know. That's why we struggle to survive so much. But if they say, why are you here? Most times there is no answer. The reason is because we're not taught how to live from heaven. Christianity is not a religion. It's divinity expressed through humanity. How much of God you carry is the testimony of your Christian life, not the title. I want to show you the glory is actually the wealth of man. The wealth. The Bible calls it the commonwealth of Israel. So if you look at the civilization of Israel, they built their houses. The life of the Israeli company is around the ark where the glory dwells. It is called the commonwealth of Israel. So if your life has no reference to the ark, you are not an Israelite. So they live their lives around the tabernacle, and the ark in the Holy of Holies is what defines their reference. So if they come to the end of the year, all of them comes to a shutdown until the high priest enters into the ark and makes atonement for them. That is what defines their existence. So all of them live as partakers of the glory. Because without the glory, there's no life. This is what we fight for. The quality of your life has nothing to do with what you have. Everything you have is a tool. And if you have more, it means your responsibility is more. This is Christianity. Christianity is the life of glory. There are 8 articles of the glory. I will show us quickly. And then we'll begin to live. When I show us the 8 articles of the glory, then I will show us 3 things that matters in time. So when you pray for a job, don't look for big salary. When God sends you to a job, go there as an ambassador. Else, everything you did there is a waste. This building looks beautiful, but the value is not in the shape. The value of this building is in the number of souls that accepted Jesus on this altar. Because this building will not appear in heaven, but the souls will appear in Zion. I thought spiritual activities are even important until I realized that the glory is what defines even the value of what we do. Because you can cast out devils and you show up and Jesus say, away from me, you walk out of iniquity. I know you not. That's why I told you that as beautiful as gift. You know, we are preachers. You can come here. I know people who preach. And from that crusade, they go home with a fine girl. I've met them. I know people who gave word of knowledge to sisters and they ended up in a hotel. Because they have a gift, but they don't know the glory. So even while they carried that gift, it was a tool for satisfying their appetite. They are creatures of time. They are ruled by flesh. They don't know what life is about. Before you celebrate your birthday and you count how old you are, find out how much of God you have trapped. That's what you celebrate, not time. Time has no value in Zion. When you go to eternity, time is withdrawn. Moses ascended Sinai and he was there for 40 years, 40 days. He didn't know. When Moses came down, he told a story that lasted from the beginning of time to the end. Moses saw the beginning and he said everything that God did in Genesis chapter 1. And when Moses was about to depart in in Deuteronomy 34, he said, I saw the Holy One descending from Mount Paran with 10,000 of his saints. That is the battle of Armageddon. So in 40 days, because Moses entered Zion, he saw beginning to end. More than 10 million years was seen in 40 days because that realm has no time. So when we live as creatures of time, what we have done is that we have wasted before we entered there. Christianity is the business of glory. And glory is the civilization of heaven. Yeah. You know, Apostle Orokpo is coming. I don't need to charge. After 3 days, you will change. I'm telling you, your motivations and appetites will change. You know, I told you when I went to mommy's meeting, that time we were in SS3. We made us shadow prefects in SS2. So we waited for it for 5 years. So that period, they wash your uniform. So when we wake up, they have ironed it, we dress, and then we are going to school. Suddenly she came, and when she said some of the things she said, she preached about Jehoshaphat. Believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Believe in his prophet, you shall prosper. And he showed us how 3 nations were destroyed because somebody entered heaven. And we left there, we forgot that we were prefects. We began to pursue God. There was another hunger that was born in our spirit. Because somebody that knows Zion is talking. You know, they sent people to arrest Jesus. When they came, they said, no man spake. No man ever spake like that man. He was talking from eternity. So you don't hear him in your head, you hear him in your heart. You believe, you don't know what you heard. You may carry your note and you are stranded, you didn't write anything, but when you go home, you can't sleep again. And then you wake up by 12, you are speaking in tongues. Taba, shakata, burua, kida. And suddenly that guy that you are already gisting with, he now calls you, appetite have died. Appetite have died. That is when life begins. If that thing has not happened, you are a creature of time. The Bible says a man in honor that knoweth not is like the beast of the field that perishes. The difference between you and a goat is that you are a creature of eternity. So your reference is in Zion, not in time. 8 articles of the glory. The first is that God is spirit. You know, the word glory is the word kaboid in the Hebrew. This is doxa life, so we don't need definition or terms. You know it. And the word glory is the word doxa in Greek. What it means is simply, it was coined from the word statue. You know what a statue is? These things they mold. So it can stand like this under the sun, it will remain like this. It will stand like this under the rain, it will remain like this. Put it inside fire, it will remain like this. It can't change. So the word glory is actually the full essence of a being. The substance that defines the reality of a being. It's unchanging. So if you say this is the glory of God, it means this is what God is any day, any time. So when we speak about the weight of glory, we are talking about the measure of God that rests upon a man. But if you don't know the articles of the glory, you may think it's, I fell down. Oh. No, you will stand up and go back. God have not rested. When God rests, you can stand up like this. And then when they give you the same star lager beer that you drink, it will become bitter. What has happened is that you have been exchanged from within. You carry the nature of the serpent, but the nature of God has entered. So Paul said in 1 Corinthians 15, 48 and 49, that the same way we bore the image of the earthly, we must bear the image of the heavenly. What Paul was saying is that we must exchange mortality and wear immortality. But what are the articles of immortality? The first is spirit. What it means is that God is a spirit. So his realities begins from the spirit. If you want to define the essence of God, you can't take reference from material or corporal reality. The essence of God's reality flows from the spirit. So if you look at a man's life and his reference is not in the spirit, he doesn't carry glory. He can act it and call his name Jesus. You know, in Mexico, there are people that bear Jesus. It doesn't mean they carry glory. You want to see a man that is full of glory, he defines and draws the reference of his life from spirit, the realm of God. This was the life that Jesus mirrored as the pattern man. In Isaiah chapter 11 from verse 2, the Bible said the spirit, it began to show us the governmental dimension of the Spirit of God. A man who carries glory, who lives from the Spirit, there are 7 tributaries that his life expresses. He said the Spirit of the Lord shall be upon him. What it means is that any man who is ruled from the spirit realm is under the government of the Lord. You may have seen a fair lady you want to marry, but the government comes and says, this is your wife. What happens now is that you sacrifice your emotion. Because you are of the nobles. The nobles don't marry because of love. They marry for kingdom. I was supposed to be a naval officer by now. But when God came, he said, that is not in your curriculum in Zion. So because of the Lord, it was hard. But you know, when you go to Zion, Jesus said it is hard to kick against the pricks. When you go to Zion, they will check what God wrote before time began. He said, before you were born, I knew you. I ordained you to be a prophet. So if you come to time and you do anything apart from being a prophet, you didn't appear in the radar of Zion. Did you read the life of Moses? For 40 years, they didn't write anything about him. Because living in the palace was not part of his destiny. The angels came the day he was born, but there was nothing written. Because the angel will only write on earth what was written about you before time began. Because your life on earth is a witness of the counsel of God, the will of God, the purposes of God. So you can be 70 years old, but in the slate of eternity, nothing has been written. But the moment Moses wanted to leave Egypt, he said when he was come of age, suddenly the story began. The angels began to write. Because when we check the lexicon of Zion, this is what was written. And everything Moses did, they wrote it. Everything. Because now he was journeying by a light that was flowing from the Lord. Did you not see the life of Jesus? That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet. The land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentile. The people that sat in darkness have seen a great light. Zebulun was not the most pleasant place to live. If you want to live, you can choose Judah, because Judah has a royal heritage. But what was written in prophecy is that he will be the land of Zebulun. So Jesus did not move until he knew what the Spirit of the Lord was piping from Zion. That's the life of the pattern man. I know there is pressure, and I know you want to marry. But have you seen what the Lord is saying?